Look, you've presented your offer perfectly, but the client balks at the cost, right? Saying it's too expensive. Like in this video, I'm going to show you a counterintuitive strategy that transforms this common objection into the very reason why they actually decide to buy from you. My name is Jason James. Over the last 10 years, I've had the pleasure of taking what I learned as a psychiatric nurse and applying it into sales, and which turned my sales into over 22 million personally closed by myself. And my clients have gone on to actually close over 200 million and growing using what I call my invisible sales method. Now, in this video, I want to demonstrate to you what to do when someone says it's too expensive, and more importantly, how to stop it from actually happening. So let's take a look at that objection in general. You see, whenever someone says to you it's too expensive, what is it really signaling to them? Well, or signaling to you, should I say? Well, what is it really signaling? My guess is it's actually a lack of value. That's it, plain and simple. Because let's be perfectly honest, every single one of us, including me, have found the money, despite something being expensive. We've found the money because it was of value to us. For example, over here in the UK, I remember a few years ago, there was a fuel shortage and everybody went nuts. Everybody went nuts. There was a fuel shortage. Now, interestingly enough, what was happening is there were fuel shortages up and down the country. Gas stations, or petrol stations that we call them here in the UK, were putting their prices to ridiculous amounts. Yet there were queues and queues of people waiting, lining up to not just fill up their cars, but to fill up freaking cans and all kinds of stuff. We even had some crazy people filling up plastic bags with fuel. It was mad. It was nuts. And it was expensive. It was expensive. Now, normally, if you drove past the petrol station and their fuel prices were ridiculous, you'd be like, I'm not paying that. But forget that. I'm going to go somewhere else. Okay. Now, what was happening when the prices were sky high and there was a lack of demand? It had nothing to do with it being too expensive. It had everything to do with the value that having that fuel would actually bring to the equation. For example, when you have fuel in your car, you can get to work, which means you can work and earn money and pay your bills. When you've got fuel in your car, you can actually drive around and get your kids to school, which basically means they get to have an education and they don't have to stay at home, which means you can't go to work. When you've got fuel in your car, you can drive to the grocery store and stock up so that you've actually got food to put on the table for your family. You see where I'm going with this? So the price was irrelevant. I reckon those petrol stations could have even doubled them even more on top of what they already were, and people still would have bought, because I did, because it solved the problem. So my point here is this, okay? In order for you to avoid getting it's too expensive, we've got to start making sure that there's a couple of things going on in our conversations with our prospect. We first must need to ensure that we are making our product or our service valuable enough to the prospect, because people move when there's some kind of value behind it, right? Like I said to you with the petrol, there was value behind it, so people were just queuing up. Okay, they didn't care if they had to queue up for an hour; they were queuing up because they needed that fuel, right? It's the same with your product. What are you doing right now to ensure that it's of value to the prospect? Now, I've done this in a different video before, but one of the things I want to talk to you about is what I call psychological sales triggers. Now, there are 13 psychological sales triggers, which you can go and watch in another video of mine, but you've got to start looking at how can I make them see the value in what I'm offering. Now, here's the thing. If your product or service helps people make money or save money quickly, then they're going to love that. Okay, so making money or saving money is a sales trigger. So if you've got a product or service that makes people money or saves them money, that's a sales trigger. For example, if I said to you, buy this particular product right now because it will save you immediately 1/3 off of your energy bills, it's an immediate instant gratification. And over the course of the next 3 months, it would have paid for itself. Is it making sense? So the money I'm saving them is a sales trigger. They're like, hey, I'm in on that. Now, interestingly enough, if you couple making money or saving money with time, that's another sales trigger, as in speed, do it quickly, it stacks up on the money sales trigger. So now we've got more value compounding here. You can make money with my products or service, and you can do it quickly. Yeah. For example, for me, I'm going to be completely blunt and honest. You start working with me when it comes to selling. You want me to mentor you, coach you, train you, whether that's you, your team, anyone who works with you. I will help you to make more money fast. My clients have gone on to make money in 1 day after working with me. That's how quick they do it. Is it making sense? So my point is this. I've got speed, I've got making money. I've got all of those sales triggers into my offer, which adds the value to someone. They're like, hey, look, if I give Jason some money today, I'm going to make it at least back in the next few weeks. Like, that's quick. I can make it even back tomorrow if I wanted to. That's quick. They see the immediate ROIs. It's making sense. So what we're trying to do here when we're talking to our prospect is stack on sales triggers, stack on those things that will make them see the value in doing something today, because it's not about the price. It's not about the price. They have bought expensive stuff before. This is what you have to understand. So it's really, really important that you see this before it even happens. Because look, let's be perfectly honest. You know what baffles me about salespeople is they've had the too expensive objection happen so many times. So many times. Okay. They've had that objection happen so many times. And what do they do instead? They keep on going into sales conversations waiting for it to freaking happen. Don't. You already know it's going to happen on most sales conversations, okay? So preempt it and work your pitch around making sure that the prospect doesn't even get a chance to say it. And if they do say it, I'll show you how to deal with that in a second. My point is you've got to try and eliminate any reason why this person thinks is expensive when you tell them what the investment is to work with you is. Like, that's it. You've got to try and eliminate that. So the way we do that is by stacking value, all right? Now, I'm not going to go through my whole sales process right now, but one of the things that you should be doing, obviously, is exploring what the prospect's problems are, okay? Now, here's where a lot of rookie salespeople fall down. They don't spend enough time exploring what the actual problems are and how it's an actual problem to the prospect. What does this mean? Well, it's very simple, really. If somebody jumps on a call with me, for example, and says, hey, Jess, you know what? Our sales are pretty stagnant right now, and every now and then they dip, but they never really go any higher, okay? Now, I can't automatically assume how that's a problem because my understanding is different to their understanding. So for someone thinking their sales is stagnant, I might go, okay, your sales are stagnant, but you're still making money, so you're okay. Or I don't know. Maybe their sales are stagnant and they're bleeding money. I don't know. So I need to explore that problem even more rather than me overlaying what I think is a problem onto their problem. Okay. So the best way to do that is to basically go, okay, tell me more. Like how is that actually a problem? How is your sales being stagnant an actual problem in your business right now? Like, what's the knock-on effect? What's going on? I want to know more. Now, when you start to build the problem up a little bit more, it hurts a little bit more. When it hurts a little bit more, suddenly the person, another psychological sales trigger, feels a bit more pain. When they feel a bit more pain, some urgency starts to be created. Again, another psychological sales trigger, right? Urgency, scarcity, stuff like that, right? So there's a bit of urgency kicking in now. So now if I've got an offer that's got make money or save money, quickly, as in time, pain, it hurts, and then obviously some kind of urgency built in as well. Now I've got 4 psychological sales triggers in my offer before I've even told them how much it is. Is this making sense? I hope this is making sense. If you could just tie those 4 things into when you're talking to the prospect, when you come and tell them what the investment is irrelevant. They're going to make money or save it. They're going to do it quickly. It's going to take that pain away, and they're going to alleviate that urgency or that problem. If they don't do it right now, it's going to get worse, right? So what? Look, it's a no-brainer. Look, how would you like to invest? Debit, credit? You see where I'm going with this? The point is you've got to get this in earlier. So build up that pain, stack on the problems. What is it that's going on? Okay, because if you don't do that, there's no value. You're not building up the value. Now, interesting enough, when you go into positioning your offer, your product, or your solution, wherever it is, you mustn't then rattle off random stuff about your offer that is irrelevant to what they've shared with you. Listen, for example, if somebody comes to me and says, Jess, listen, look, we are getting onto calls, and where we're falling down is on the close, asking for the sale. When we get to we're strong on making the offer, and then when we get to actually asking for the money, we're getting hit with a load of objections, and we're just falling apart over there. Okay. Now, when you work with me, I don't just help you with your process. I don't just help you with your process. Okay. I help you be a better conversationalist. I help you to preempt stuff. I help you to do what I call in my invisible sales method, cultivate. This is the first stage in the system where you do most of the selling before you even open your mouth. Okay. I'm not going to talk to the prospect about this on the call. I'm not, because they haven't told me that there's a problem with their prospecting. They haven't told me there's a problem with their mindset. They haven't told me there's a problem with their psychology. They haven't told me any of this stuff. So I'm not going to talk about that benefit of working with me. What I'm going to hone in on instead is, actually, let me teach you more about my objection handling method, on how you can actually preempt objections before they come up, and how do you handle them when they do come up to ensure that you make 80% of the sales that you're trying to make right now. Okay. Now, I'm going to focus more on that particular feature of my offer rather than everything else, because it's not what they want right now. If anything, when they come and work with me, they're going to be pleasantly surprised, because it's like an undisclosed bonus, because they're going to get all of this other cool stuff as well when they start working with me. But in that moment, I've amplified the problem. They see the value in getting that problem solved. I've told them exactly how that's going to get solved when they start working with me. Now, the investment is irrelevant. The investment is irrelevant. Why? Because at the end of the day, what is that problem costing them in the first place? So, for example, if that prospect right now is disclosed to you, and if you've done your job correctly, you should have done this. If they've disclosed to you how much it's costing them by not solving it, suddenly your price tag, investment, whatever it is to work with you, is irrelevant. So if someone's saying to you it's costing them $100,000 a month in lost revenue, asking for $20,000 to solve it is irrelevant, because the intrinsic value of that $100,000 a month to them is actually 1.2 million over the course of the year. Give me 20K so you can make 1.2 million. It's a bit of a no-brainer, right? Is this making sense? So this is how you avoid someone even saying to you it's too expensive. Is it making sense? Now, let's say you've done all of that and they still say, oh man, that's a bit expensive. Well, let's understand the comparison going on in their mind right now. For someone to say it's expensive, there must be some form of comparison going on. So either they've been quoted before, or someone else has told them how much it is to work with us, with someone who's doing what you do, whatever it is, or they genuinely don't have a comparison. They just thought that it would be a lot less. Is this making sense? Okay. So when someone says it's too expensive, there's obviously a comparison going on. Now, historically, what sales trainers used to teach people, and I think some of them still do it now, is to tell the prospect when they say it's too expensive, you say, okay, compared to what? That sounds a bit challenging, doesn't it? Like, compared to what? Okay. Now, they're not wrong in what they're trying to do, because they're right. There is a comparison going on in the prospect's head. However, compared to what is what they ask the prospect, and suddenly the prospect gets on a defensive or tries to talk themselves into why it's too expensive or whatever it is, and you kind of lost control of it. Okay. So what we want to do instead is actually agree with the prospect. Say, look, I hear you. If I was in your shoes right now, looking at what I presented to you, I would probably think it's expensive too. Now, why am I agreeing with the prospect? The bottom line is when you agree with someone, you diffuse the situation. Most people are expecting pushback. Most people are expecting conflict. They're expecting a fight. You're expecting you to say, compared to what? Like, what do you mean it's too expensive? Like, hey, listen, you just told me it's costing you 1.2 million a year, man. It's only 20K to work with me. Why are we even having this conversation? Like, they're expecting conflict. So when you diffuse it by agreeing, it's what we call in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, pace and lead. What does pace and lead mean? Pace basically means meet the prospect where they're at and then take them or lead them to where you want to go. So by agreeing, I'm meeting them where they're at. Say, I hear you. If I was in your shoes right now, I would probably think this is expensive too. And then I would say something along the lines of, and here's the thing. Whenever I've thought something was too expensive and I've gone to look for a cheaper solution elsewhere, I've always somehow ended up paying twice, because the cheaper solution isn't always the right solution. And the price is what I paid today. The cost is what it costs me tomorrow. So I can go cheaper right now, not a problem at all. However, it's going to cost me down the line. So Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, knowing that you've got a $1.2 million a year problem to solve, would you agree with me that it makes sense to consider getting the right option rather than the cheapest? Yes or no? Absolutely. That is why we are not the cheapest, because we are the right solution. So, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, is there anything else you need to know right now other than the price itself for you to move forwards? No? Great. Because now look, even if they have to go onto a payment plan or spread the payments or whatever it is, I want them to go with the right choice, not the cheapest choice. And your job is to help them see what is right, not what is cheaper. Now, again, go deeper into this in my trainings, right? Should you even be pitching to someone who's a price buyer in the first place? That's a whole different conversation, okay? What we should be doing, let's say for argument's sake, you're getting a lot of too expensive, and it's bugging up your sales pipeline or whatever it is, and you don't want to have these people anymore. Well, you've got to learn from that. Don't be a fool. Don't be that person who keeps on booking with people and getting the same objection. Let me learn from it. Now, let me go back to my marketing message. Let me go back to my marketing team. Let me go back to my lead gen strategy and start going, right, let me put a step in to avoid getting people who think it's too expensive on the call. So I did this with a client of mine recently, actually. He sells solar panels. And I said to him, listen, dude, if you're tired of people, telling you it's too expensive and comparing you to other providers, here's what I want you to do. In your pre-qualification process, before you go out for a survey, I want you to ask a very specific question. I want you to ask the prospect, are they someone looking for the cheapest quote or the most valuable and right solution for their property? And just based on that, you can decide whether you want to speak to them or not. The ones that tick cheapest, you can probably avoid speaking to them because they're more likely from experience to compare you to other people and not go with you. They're just looking for a cheap product. Okay, you sell a premium product, so why would you even want to talk to them anyway? You can't actually beat the cheap quote because your product is superior, right? So why would you want to talk to them? Or they will tick the box for they're looking for value. Now you can go and speak to them. Now that might reduce the number of appointments you have, but here's the thing. Are you here to groom your bank account or your ego? I'd imagine it's your bank account. So I'd rather talk to 10 people who've ticked that they rather buy value than 100 people who are freaking want to waste my time because they're looking for the cheap price. Is that making sense? So there's lots of things that we can do to avoid it's too expensive before it even happens. But when it does happen, or if it does happen, you've also got to learn how to steer that conversation back in. So remember to agree with them, give them a new spin on it, drive them back into the right choice, not the most expensive choice. Okay, so look, here's the thing. I want to help you. If you're getting value from anything that I've said during this video, I want to help you. I want to coach you, I want to mentor you, whether that's working with you directly one-to-one or working with your sales team. Listen, nobody is teaching the invisible sales method right now. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's built by me, a former psychiatric nurse who actually understands human behavior. And there's only two things you need to do to get better at this stuff. Understand human behavior and learn to be a better conversationalist. And I can help you with both of those things without taking you out of the sales game, without taking you off the floor, without making you attend a 3-day event. I can help you with this because I can mentor you either online or one-to-one, or we can come out to you and your team, however you want to do it. We can work together closely. There's limited downtime, but there are maximum results and they happen very, very quickly. And the only way for us to discover whether it's a good fit for both of us is to have a exploratory conversation together. Okay, now I don't just speak to everybody, just so we're clear, and it's not because I'm God, it's because I know I can't help everybody. And it's a very clear application process. It's very, very simple to see if we can actually help you or not. Rather than waste each other's time on a call, why don't we just follow the process, answer a few questions. There'll be a link in the description below, or you can comment sales down below and we'll send you the application. Have a conversation with us. Let's see if it's the right fit. If it is, great. If it's not, I'll give you some advice anyway, and then we can shake hands and part ways. Make sense? Okay, cool. So look, comment sales down below or click on the link somewhere in the description down below. Book in a meeting with us. Let's have a conversation. I'd love to serve you with this stuff. There's way more I'd love to give you. But even with the stuff that I've taught you just now, hopefully you can go and apply it and shift your perspective on how you currently handle it's too expensive to help people make the right choice rather than the cheapest choice. Make sense? So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, follow on your favorite platform, leave us a comment down below. What are your thoughts? And I'll see you on the next one.